Welcome everyone, this is bennyboy AF, and this is the 5th installment of my game design tutorial using Microsoft's XNA Studio. Let me just get into the game and play it as it is so far, and then we'll talk about it.
The beneficent Oz has every intention of granting your request. The great Oz has spoken. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. The great Oz has spoken.
Alright, well that's basically the game. If I press tab I can just start over, but we don't want to watch the whole game again. Additions, we now have a timer so that players can compete based on time. We also have actual working player counting system now, and most importantly we have proper, nice, right to the pixel collision detection. So literally right down to the pixel, which makes for really realistic collisions. Of course when I die I come back in and one of my little backup guys is erased. The white outline is a protective shield so that you know, the Pope can't get right on your respawn point and keep killing you while your new players are trying to get into the game. So, you know, basically we have the beginning of a proper little game here, and that's that. Alright, so let me exit the game here and we'll talk about what's going on a little bit. If we look up here, here's our data declarations for the game. I start with a thing called game data, which includes player data, and a list of explosion data. That's pretty clear, I think. That's where all the explosions on the screen are listed. Now, player and NPC are both given the data type, the structure player data. And we look down here, I've made player data. We have a couple Boolean things. Boolean means true or false, and is super useful in gaming. Here's one example. We have a Boolean called can move. So both my player and my non-player character there, I can set this Boolean like a little light switch. So if I ever want them to stop moving, say you know, they're busy exploding or something, you don't want them to move around while they're exploding, you just turn can move to false, and then in all your movement routines you have a little check before each routine where you say you know, if player can move, then do the moving routine. Same thing for can shoot, is visible, etc. So I've added those there. Here we have frames to entry and frames safe. Now I'm using frames rather than real-time timing, and the reason for this is an XNA game, if it's working properly, should be running at 60 frames a second. So I count events in frames, and that usually works just fine if the computer is up to playing the game properly. If it's not, the game's gonna suck anyway, so whatever. Alright, let's scroll down a little bit here. Now here, remember I had the game data was my first thing that I had. Now I'm declaring that game, a bunch of other variables, but here's what's cool about having that game structure set up. In Visual Studio, if I use a dot, I get all the parts of that structure there. So here's the explosions, the NPC, and the player. We already know what's in the NPC and player because we've looked at it already, but let's just go ahead and, alright. So we have is visible, lives remaining, pause, shots, texture, velocity, and all the stuff that we put into that structure up at the top there. and they come up automatically as you're kind of typing through. So you start with your game structure, and it gives you all the choices you have, and you choose one, and it gives you all the choices you have, and you choose one, and it gives you all the choices you have. It makes it really, really easy to keep track of all the kind of data that you're using in your game. And this is why you really need to have a good programming environment, not using like a DOS, a command shell or something ridiculous like that. Some people today still do that. They're either hackers or crazy or silly. So there you go. Microsoft Visual Studio for the win, basically. Now here's one of our, so we had frames to entry, which is one of our timers. And what we've got is, if frames to entry is more than 0, that means that we're waiting for the player to kind of become active on the game screen. He's not active right now. And what we do is, if we've counted down from whatever, 200 frames or whatever it is, down to 1, we go update our player, which means we've done a bunch of kind of counting down already. And we can put in our new player or whatever. Minus minus here means really just -1, decrement -1. And the next time we go through this this update cycle, which is one of the main kind of subroutines of the gaming program, this will go down again and down again and down again, and eventually our frames to entry will hit 1, and we'll get that player update. The reason I've used 1 is because after the next decrement, it's going to go down to 0. Which means the next time we go through this update cycle, this if statement, frames to entry greater than 0, will fail, and it won't do any of this until we go ahead and decide sometime later that we want to take our little guy off the active play, and we'll change this frames to entry to a number more than 0. Okay, let's see here. Here we have a series of Boolean statements all connected with and. And what that means is, if a bunch of things are true, the next code will kind of be processed. So here we have if key temp is key down keys space, so you're pressing the space bar, and process shots equals true, which means the game is processing shots, and game player can shoot, and game player frame safe equals 0. Now frame safe is how many frames of kind of a ghost shield a player has when he comes back into the game after dying. So if he has any ghost shield, he's not allowed to shoot. So it has to be 0. I've decided that. Okay. So we check all these things and we go ahead and we do this routine. Now if any of those things is not true, so process shots is set to false, or game player can't shoot, or the player has some frame safe frames left, then none of this will execute down here, and we won't fire a laser weapon, and we won't add a new shot to the screen or anything like that. Just nothing will happen. Okay. I think that's it. Let's just quickly see if there's anything else. Yep, that's it. So use of Booleans to turn switches on and off, very important. Use of frame counters as kind of substitute timers, and that's an important part of the workings of a game. And I'm done. Hope you enjoyed it.